It's been reported that the Welsh Labour government is going to incentivise people smugglers by offering £1,600 of taxpayers' money every month to asylum seekers. Can I ask my right honourable friend for an assurance that he will never contemplate such a daft idea in our small boats bill?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I know my noble friend Lord Bellamy and the Secretary of State for Wales wrote to the Welsh Government yesterday confirming that we would not be undertaking their request. Now, I know that the Labour leader has said that the Welsh Labour Government is his blueprint. And unbelievably, as my honourable friend said, Labour in Wales are trying to pay illegal migrants £1,600. Mr. Speaker, we're stopping the boats. Labour's paying for them.
We now come to the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Tory party chair says that public services are in pretty good shape. Has the Prime Minister met a single member of the public who agrees with him?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, because of the record investment that we're putting into public services like the NHS, we're now getting waiting lists down. Because of the reforms that we've made to our education system, more children are studying in good and outstanding schools. Because that's what you get with a Conservative government: more funding, more reform, and better outcomes for Britain.
He's living in another world to the rest of us. People waiting more than 2 days from an ambulance because they broke the NHS. Only 1 in 100 rapists going to court because they broke the criminal justice system. A record number of small boats crossing the Channel because they broke the asylum system. People can't afford their bills, can't get the police to investigate crimes, can't get a doctor's appointment. Does that really sound like pretty good shape to him?
Well, Mr. Speaker, what's the record since 2010? Since 2010, crime down by 50% under the Conservative government, Mr. Speaker. 20,000 more police officers, we've given them more powers, and we've toughened up sentencing, all opposed by Sir Softy over there.
Mr. Speaker, either the Prime Minister...
Order. Our constituents want to hear the question and the answers. What I would say is, you'll progress questions beyond. The Prime Minister wants to leave early, along with the Leader of the Opposition. Help me to help them.
Yes. Mr. Speaker, either the Prime Minister doesn't use the same public services to the rest of us, or he simply can't see the damage they've done to our country. In 2019, Ariel Lee, a convicted people smuggler, threw boiling water over a prison officer, leaving him with first-degree burns. The prison officer said it felt like acid. His face was on fire. His attacker was found guilty, received a prison sentence, quite right in my view. Does the Prime Minister agree?
Well, Mr. Speaker, while record is clear on sentencing, it was this party and this government that passed the Sentencing Act last year. It toughened up sentences, and the average custodial sentence has now increased since 2010 by almost 2/3. For child sex abusers, it's up by 15 months, and for rapists, it's up by 2 years. And when our Sentencing Act ended the automatic early release of offenders who pose a danger to the public, it was the Labour Party who voted against it.
Well, the problem is, Prime Minister, Ariel Lee's sentence ended up being suspended. And anyone watching this would wonder why someone who violently attacks a key worker isn't behind bars. Well, the court judgment spelt it out. It's because it took 16 months for the attacker to be charged. That's ridiculous. And it took another 2 years before he was sentenced. Completely unacceptable. Can't the Prime Minister see that because they've lost control of the court service, because they've created the largest court backlog on record, he's letting violent criminals go free?
Mr. Speaker, here's a record. We're cracking down on grooming gangs, and he's uncomfortable, Mr. Speaker. He's uncomfortable addressing. We toughen the law on sex offenders so they spend longer in prison. He voted against it, Mr. Speaker. And we've increased rape convictions by over 60%. Meanwhile, he attended 21 sentencing council meetings that watered down punishments. That's why they call him Sir Softy. Soft on crime, soft on criminals.
Mr. Speaker, I've prosecuted thousands upon thousands of sex offenders. He's just shown he doesn't understand how the criminal justice system works. No wonder he can't fix it. And he thinks that cracking down on crime is suspending a sentence where someone should be in prison. That shows the problem. And another reason, Mr. Speaker, another reason cited by the court for suspending the sentence in Ariel Lee's case was a letter from the Justice Secretary in February about prison overcrowding. As a result of that letter, courts have been told to have awareness of the impact of current prison population levels when passing sentences. In simple terms, the wrecking ball the Tories have taken to criminal justice means that thousands of people who should be in prison aren't. The court also said, he shakes his head, he should read the judgment. The court also said that it's for the government to say when prison conditions return to a more normal state. Now, I know the Justice Secretary has been busy trying to save his own job rather than actually doing it. But has the Prime Minister asked him when he's going to get a grip on the prison system and withdraw that letter which is allowing criminals to walk free?
Mr. Speaker, we're in the process of building 20,000 more prison places. That's what this government is delivering, because we're toughening up sentencing and putting more people behind bars and making sure that our most serious offenders spend longer there. But I love it when he talks about his record as a lefty lawyer, Mr. Speaker, because I was looking at this, because when he was there, he's quoting things, I read that people were really disappointed that his organisation let down victims. That wasn't even my assessment. That was his shadow Attorney General.
I want to get through these questions, so do my constituents. If there's any member whose constituents they aren't interested in, please leave the chamber. Keir Starmer.
Well, Mr. Speaker, when I was in office as Director of Public Prosecutions, those benches migrated supporters. In 2013, the Home Affairs Select Committee said, we would like to commend the work of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Keir Starmer. He's striven to improve the treatment of sexual assault. They go on to say...
Can we... Prime Minister's questions matter to our constituents. I wonder if I were you. It's not the day. I want to get through it because I'm trying to help the Prime Minister and the Leader. You're not being helpful. We'll hear this question no matter how long it takes. Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, this is 2030.
Order. Ms Stevenson, I've heard a few weeks. This is the last week. I suggest you quiet, or it's better you leave. Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, this is the Home Affairs Select Committee in 2013. They go on to say the work I did should provide a model to other agencies, and when he leaves the CPS, he will be missed. Now, that report was presented to Parliament by the then Home Secretary, future Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Member for Maidenhead. And the government, those benches, noted and supported it. Now, it's obviously always a good look to have your work recognised, although they did lay it on a bit thick. So perhaps the Prime Minister will spend less time trying to rewrite history and more time sorting out the mess he's made of criminal justice. Because the crisis in criminal justice is just a snapshot of public services collapsing under his watch. People can see it wherever they look. Our roads, our trains, the NHS, the asylum system, policing, mental health provision. The Tories have broken them all they've got left is excuses and blame. Now, I know the Prime Minister would rather talk about a maths lesson than the state of the country, but perhaps he could solve this equation. Why, after 13 years of a Tory government, are patients waiting longer than ever, criminals walking free, growth non-existent, and why, everywhere you look, does nothing seem to work at all?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I can't quite remember, but I think he started by talking about when he was DPP in 2013. And I'm actually glad he brought that up, because there was something else that happened when he was DPP in 2013. And that was when he got his own special law, Mr. Speaker. I've got it right here. It's the pensions increase. It's the pensions increase for Keir Starmer.
Order. Just a moment. Can I just say, order. I expect both sides to listen to the questions and the answers. Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, here it is. It's the pensions increase pension scheme for Keir Starmer, QC, 2013. Now, while we're introducing a transformative policy to support doctors to cut the waiting list faster, he wants to raise taxes on public sector workers. And it's one law for him and tax rises for everyone else.
Don't let me double down on you. Please, Sally Ann Hart.
Mr. Speaker, recently I presented a Prime Minister's Point of Light Award to Joan Willett, nearly 107, for her fundraising for the British Heart Foundation. And two other Hastings and Rye residents, Anthony Kimber and Alistair Felly, were celebrated as community champions at number 10. Will the Prime Minister join me in thanking all our fantastic volunteers and community champions, not only in Hastings and Rye, but throughout the United Kingdom, and will he continue to bring them together in celebration?
Can I thank my honourable friend, and I'm absolutely delighted that Joan received her Points of Light Award, and volunteers and community champions like Joan and Anthony and Alistair all make important contributions to their local community, and we're all very grateful to them. In fact, every month, Mr. Speaker, millions do the same thing, and they deserve our praise. Their generosity is integral to what makes our country and our community special, and it's right that we do everything we can to celebrate them.
Leader of the SNP, Stephen Flynn. As I said, I really do want to try and help the Prime Minister. If you don't, I do. Stephen Flynn.
Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted to hear that they had an equally peaceful and relaxing Easter break as I did. Prime Minister, was it their refusal to stand alongside striking workers on the picket line, their acceptance of the economic damage being caused by Brexit, or perhaps their support for denying the people of Scotland the right to choose their own future, which led to the leader of the Scottish Conservative Party urging voters to back Labour?
Well, Mr. Speaker, what we're doing is not getting distracted by the things that are going on elsewhere, and we're focused on delivering for the people of Scotland. We're making sure that we fund public services well with £1.5 billion extra in Barnett consequentials. We're making sure that we provide support with the cost of living. Now, I know, Mr. Speaker, at the moment, him and his party are focused on other matters. We're just going to motor on with the job.
Mr. Speaker, let me be clear. We will take no lectures from a party which has not had a mandate to govern in Scotland since 1955. He went through 3 Prime Ministers in the course of just a matter of months. You crashed the economy, who sent mortgage rates soaring, who've taken energy support away from families most in need. You have a Prime Minister who's been fined by the police not once but twice, who take donations from Russian-backed donors and who, of course, have stuffed the House of Lords with people like Baroness Moan. But, Mr Speaker, let's be clear, what we're talking about is the fact that the leader of the Scottish Conservatives believes that the people of Scotland should return Labour Party members of Parliament to this House rather than Scottish National Party members to this House. So isn't the message to the people of Scotland quite clear? Don't give the Tories what they want.
Mr Speaker, actually, the Scottish Conservatives deserve enormous praise for forcing the SNP into abandoning their completely unworkable, fundamentally flawed deposit return scheme, Mr Speaker. So it's good that the SNP U-turned and listened to the voices of the Scottish Conservatives and to business, and we look forward to working with them on delivering something that actually works to deliver for the people of Scotland. And that's just it, Mr Speaker, because if they can't fix the mess that Nicola Sturgeon left their party in, how can they possibly fix the mess that she left Scotland in?